Oh, excuse my parents. Dear YouTube News, Connecticut, Weathersfield. I put a link. There's on the corner. I don't know if that's they might have switched the thing because I believe Knott Street is somewhere else. In other words. But that was associated with a Paul Kelly who sought me out right at that corner, and I didn't respond to him, so he doesn't know me. Didn't make a fake exception. These are people that they pretend you're lying if you say you don't know them. With the people I caught with the principal child offender, the people that were associated with that corner have also been planting evidences with WTNH at other corners. These WTNH is right next to the FBI, who has rules of wire crime acts and methods with Weathersfield Police and with state police and with forensics locations, as timed collusions with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and foreign and domestic military. These are also names on the World Trade Center, on the state corrections offices, and on state judicial offices. Bob Chase with Whiting Forensics is one of the ones who recorded, confessed, demonstrated, and confirmed. Has roles with he confessed Phil Colola was one of the ones involved with the principal child offender. I caught the principal child abuser doing way worse than the upskirt pictures that are not mentioned in this one. They're changing what's available to view. The news media, because there are constantly roles with predicate acts with facts. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a police. I'm not a prosecutor. Obviously, therefore, but we have black people's rights of eyes, for example. We have means to discern how the formal identities of law have been criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought. We have this, for example, especially if we understand that James Madison and the founders behind him agreed to James Madison's plan. And that's how and then they went and found George Washington, who agreed to help and made the whole thing possible. Which is the whole thing is to force the other founders at 13 locations, counter extorted, forced to break the rules syntactically. And, so physically and other of the breaching method, which had already had since before modern countries, before colonial times, since before modern religions, messengers came. Part of the reason they had to come the way they did is because the sciences they had to go like this, because in other words, the sciences in communications formal became criminally foreign influence. Differences A through Z, names A through Z, use tactical ulterior from how by nature, individual, group difference, /S, in species volume. We haven't had, in other words, this is demonstrated to us too, because there are totally distinct species bodies. Birds, fish, antelope, and individual group difference /S in species body. And they are distinctly simultaneous from us. But there is a hyper simultaneous that is not us and it is not them. But it is showing us there are a whole bunch of species bodies. The identity of the hyper simultaneous communicates with species body volume /S science. It's showing us where and how more identity is being met. The identity of forever nature, this identity of hyper simultaneous nature, is its identity of relationship to itself. And the value of that is only increasing 3 ways equally as we can discern it attached to our subjects, all subjects. But to discern it, we have to use its method, which doesn't leave out the value of what came first as itself. Doesn't leave out the smallest finite detail, the smallest sequence shift. In fact, why and how we question, it does not leave that out. the leaders of the presidents, no matter the Republicans, if they're helping a Republican or a Democrat, see, they came through campuses that had other communicated for James Madison. So how could they interpret Marbury versus Madison? Wrong. Marbury versus Madison doesn't mean pretend to be justice when you are not. Pretend to be integrity where you are not. This breaching method assigned them only allowed to be predicate acts with facts roles. Only capable of it, too, regarding what Jim Crow laws are about. Jim Crow laws are about criminally foreign influence, remote possession /S of all location /S, everywhere the human species body stands. The human species body of individual bodies. So in other words, the ancient republic for which we stand. It was grouped difference, appreciation, following the identity of that is difference, where it has /S. It is more probable that the ancients would have taught it this way. We are individuals, grouped difference /S in species volume. Difference. That's another thing nature is showing us. You are a species volume, but you are a different one. But simultaneously, you are not. And with this, we are discerning itself. Invisible, but still discernible, and further hyper-invisible, but still discernible. Just like the parts of English grammar. This is about the invisible, but still discernible simultaneously. It is about the hyper-invisible, but still discernible. Why and how we need more than one name for a verb, for example. A verb, a predicate, a gerund, a participle. We have a past participle, present participle. And so in other words, and see time with that, because this is about the identity of forever nature. See, but this is also the identity that is the sciences. Distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, but further hyper simultaneously too. Grouped, individual, are boxing, martial arts, and wrestling. And it is about fighting, but by the rules. But they are abridged and have only been remembered abridged. So not really anyone could appreciate that properly. In the illusion of the difference is still uses of the array of differences, still measured and maintained uses of that. Even groupings, even if the whole species body agrees to a plan that ignores how nature works, it will demonstrate with negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. It has been manifest at locations, areas, and states. With the names associated with a whole bunch of other countries that aren't allowed to speak about that, they demonstrated it. A certain type of victim /hyper victim couldn't help it, while being a victim predator /hyper predator. Right where and how no one wants to be, except for there's exceptions made for that. Because this preaching method designed the suburbs of America before America's founders were born. With that system entrenched, which had slavery roles, north and south, sickly distinctly, to measure and maintain, how sickly non-distinctly, while it was being demonstrated by nature to everyone, of value, because that's what everyone wanted to counter simultaneously. It was measured and maintained, everyone would pretend other or be sensed. This is also invested natures of industries and all kinds of other hyper additional motivations, but to screen its own original hyper archetypal one with remote possession of ye each. So free speech. So in other words, rather than having mandated law followed properly, cover-ups are being used remotely because all sides of criminal and civil cases and the interbranch are planting sequence shifts, certain type of victim slash hyper victim, collusion slash S with the crime scenes, with overt criminal enterprises and private ones. WTNH also has roles at the corner of Church Street and Main Street in Old Weathersfield. All along that, those are the founding locations where the witch trials place, right next to it, right, and the place where George Washington had to come to counter-extort using James Madison's plan and the founders behind him, and using George Washington's whatever military he had. He alone didn't counter-extort at 13 locations strong enough to force people to agree to everything. Those laws were, I learned at Central Connecticut State University in notes that they would torture people and kill them. They would, if anyone was found out to be trying to build houses or just discuss it even outside of what they designed before our founders were born. Suburban homes, the design of homes in the suburbs was forced before cars were even invented, therefore. But it's important to understand that because slavery was in north south. This is designed to be a landscape theater. But knowingly, by the breaching method, knew that nature would demonstrate negative value nature progressions, acts in nature. While the breaching method employed only means more and more to cause positive value nature progressions, acts in nature, would be if to rely on its system, tactical ulterior from nature, which is hypernated pure null, which is why and how nature has the means to show us the value of indigenous populations, even not just American, Native Americans. We are in a semi-ancient trap that uses those differences still. Per the relativity, it is observable how they got away so long with leaving out how we have black people as whites of eyes. And a breaching method assigned black and white to mean other. And that has been left out because they keep blaming, our slavery, that's what the book says. Now, so you guys are leaving out what the book said first. No one had free speech. In other words, that's like saying, in other words, that's like bullying the guy who they would call, was it Mark Twain or Harry Beecher Stowe, labeled as Uncle Tom or whatever, per a job, less enslaved. On the books, in physics, it's against only black. In other words, all exceptions, they're using it for to cover up the breaching method, to blame other things, others, or selves, rather than the breaching method, a singular scientific value to where there is real integrity that could be discerned, but we can't discern it if we're going to pretend that fake integrity ever was. Forgiveness is to not leave out while we're blaming people for what we discern need to be blamed. Not leave out the breaching method. Not leave out the quality of fact human nature. That doesn't leave out the slave. Doesn't leave out this guy killed these people. That's why we torture him in the prison. Those prisons have roles with predicate acts with facts at each campus through time. Child campuses too. Ugh. Plus, our tactically delusions rot, the experts on reason. I'm not even a doctor. We could delineate their delusions from their criminally foreign influenced natures and souls when they speak. A whisper creek. They're going to speak about how they're in the way too. They have all kinds of scams there. Fake conversations with people. They have roles with people with the name O'Brien and Leahy in Lombardo with judges too, putting fake things in records with their family members, with the intelligence community. It's like, all different branches. A whole bunch of people with the name uh, Delaferra involved with probate judges and with the name Cololo, like this Phil Cololo, further involved with whiting forensics through time. People with foreign and domestic overt criminal enterprises, private ones, putting fake things in databases, planting evidences, wire crime acts and methods with the police force, switching names, forging names. With the people with the there's something to do with their roles with the Saudis, and they force collusion. All exceptions still. The difference between the Saudis forced it with the attack. Our side forced the Saudis to collusion because they have predicate acts with facts roles with the people with the World Trade Center. World Trade. They're still trade with psychiatry. They have roles with people from Pakistan, also on off the campuses. People at Trinity College have roles with people at Rocky Hill Police Department, Weathersfield Police Department, with forging and switching names. Further roles with their kids, with the principal child offender, and with the people in this at this corner at one of the links I put in this video, and also involved with the principal child abuser. They don't have they keep changing and obfuscating. And they put all these fake things about me in news, then they take it away. Because it's how they use investigators remotely, criminally foreign influence. They have been grouping the criminal enterprises wrongly and terrorists wrongly since founding. You will observe predicate acts with facts methods, and people on off the state of Connecticut corrections offices also involved with these named Cololo, Scalora, and Demora, involved with planting evidences, identity theft, fraud, slanders between campuses, and with their educators. Further involved with this principal child offender, and with the police forging and switching names, and people involved with credible threats of violence with bug spray, intercities, people all tied. Something to do with the people next to Trinity College and CCSU involved with this name Cololo, and the people with the name O'Brien and John Mayano. Now these are the people next to schools too, tied to them. Roles speaking things to make it look like people had conversations with investigators were putting fake things. They're putting fake audio and video on campuses, filmed 24/7. See, I had the people associated with the depositions of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. They were involved with planting evidences and other natures of organized crime and federal crime, child abuses, elderly abuses, roles with the leaders of the kids on and off campuses, leaders of the prisons on and off campuses, leaders of the state corrections offices, on off of Town Line, though, on off Town Line Drive in Weathersfield, Rock Hill, on off Elm Street. People involved with these names tied: Cololo, Oliveri, Violet, who have been putting fake things with databases, with their teachers' intimate ties. In other words, and the people who planted evidences with this Joshua Julian and Joshua Stryker. Joshua Stryker has been pretending to have conversations with me since I was a kid. They have roles planting evidences, changing what's actually recorded on Facebook. As Facebook rolls with all kinds of natures of organized crime. Twitter have more upskirt pictures with the people with the name Ian and with the corners involved. Increasingly, people tied to campuses I never had conversations with. And ones who pretended I had conversations by pretending passions and emotions the only time I ever saw them. These are behavior racketeering roles with the family members, like this Leahy family had whole fake conversations with me about federal crimes and criminal bodies associated with them personally before they were caught. They have fake conversations with me about legal cases. Then they knew I started talking about that online. They had to hide it. So they made some rape threats on Facebook. And I told my mother to call the police. I mean, because I caught them lying. But I forced my mother to call the police because I caught a Kevin Dillon, record, express, demonstrate, confirm with other people I don't know from other areas through time planting evidence on my street. and threats to me non-verbally. Other people make it verbally. What they want me to do? Well, I'll punch the guy in the street because he brought up one of the kids involved. And they're playing games, making threats like punks. That's why they forge and switch names with judges and prosecutors who have their kids involved. You get on paper, you do things calmly. They have to hide sequence shifts and motivations. They're planting fake motivations. You should fear God, just the Glavinskis, and that you pretended to know me. And for the exceptions when I was in your possession, because you lying about me being directed to too, and what you're doing out of Town Line Drive. People know my name. I never saw you right here. How do they know I'm me? What's with you in the Town Line Drive? What's with you with along Route 175? On off UConn, Trinity College, and CCSU planting evidences with the military, foreign and domestic. Get the Wethersfield Police on paper, one name and sequence. Let's go. Let's go. And my neighbors, people involved with the home breakings and things like that, and confessions of my teachers and things like that, recorded. You guys hid by recording fake things. You guys making it worse and worse for yourselves, because these are also names with the World Trade Center attack context, like this name Scalora. And the police involved with switching and forging names, all kinds of natures of organized crime on my street acts. You should fear God for what they're doing with the town offices and the murders involved. Fear God, hide, plot. In other words, they have no integrity, so we're going to have this conversation right here. In other words, and they were, this person will fix the fake news. Get me off the fake conversations with WFSB. That's first thing, too, because these are also the people involved with this corner and planting evidences at corners of streets and next to schools with WTNH. And there are more educators who have roles with the Lance Cuddy and the further teachers of the schools and medical people with the schools involved with the abuses of the kids. And while tactically delusions are off. Let me show you how to teach. Get on paper, one name and sequence. Get on paper now. And they watch what they're doing too when they're making everyone talk through each other. That's why make sure you just give me a name. Give me a name. Because there's murders that I didn't talk to anyone around me about. And that's part of the things that's about it. There's like the murder of Greg Kyler. And there were confessions. You can't confess about that things to be fake. And it was timed into cities with the people next to Trinity College and CCSU who have roles of the wire crimes with the names on my street and the names tied to them and how they brought up the untimely deaths, all intercity. Because then they play a racket where they won't let you speak about anything with a simple sentence because they painted themselves in corners, all sides in criminal and civil cases in the intelligence names, planting the same sequence shifts. They planted post-dated legal papers in the Ninth Circuit Court right next to the World Trade Center towers right before the attack, as the names long-term before that made confessions in it and since. Yeah.